good odd people. And first of all, congratulations to be incubated with BIMTech. Uh, I mean, the team, is very close to my heart. They do a fantastic job out there. Uh, so, our my manager and the remaining team. So, congratulations on that. I think you've got a good team to support you. A good set of people. They know the industry, and they're pretty well connected. So, I just thought of I'm not going to do a very technical session per se. I would rather want to share my knowledge on the basis of experience I have in the Indian startup ecosystem. And uh, why we are talking about fundraising at initial stages is uh, because of the first most important point, which I feel that startups keep fundraising as an objective. So my first note on the session would be that can we have fundraising as not an objective, um, right? So that's how we should start. Why? Because if I'm not wrong, most of us would know companies like Zoho, uh, Hotjar, Mailchimp, Zerodha, Wingify, Basecamp. Have you heard about these brands by any chance? Any of these?
Yes, yes, sir, yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah.
Can anybody tell me what is common in all of them?
All are always
Sir,
startups.
yeah, they built their company on they didn't take so much of funding, external fundings.
Okay, not just any of the funding. For good time, they've been 100% bootstrapped. 100% bootstrapped. And we know where companies like Zoho and Mailchimp stand today. Not just these startups. If you know companies like InfoEdge, have you heard about InfoEdge? And then of course Google and all. So InfoEdge had raised probably only 1.4 million dollars throughout their entire lifespan yet, and that to come came at a later stage. uh, and so is a big huge brand like Google. They raised only $25 million. I mean, ever $25 billion is at that for that mammoth scale startup is nothing at all, right? So what I again want to insist and reiterate is that whilst we all are at an ideation stage, at an early stage, let's not keep our objective to be fundraising. If we are a startup, that's my first say. uh, we all want to become kind of unicorns because by our valuation hikes. Let me also tell you that 20% of the unicorns fail. I will not take names. So what I want to kind of emphasize here on is that at your stage, please try and build an enduring company, a strong company which would survive without external help, which will survive without a lot of VCs backing you. Uh, I mean, if these people back you, if angel investors like a set of angel investors back you, AIC backs you, fantastic. But if they don't, I mean, create an enduring company in such a manner that even if they don't, you will survive well. And I'm a huge fan of strong unit economics. So whilst we're at an early stage, it is actually comparatively easy uh, to figure out what is going to be a good unit economics. You may or may not be able to achieve it right now, at this stage. But the best part is that right now you can actually figure out that what can be your best unit economics, in which ways you can attain it. So that needs to be at your second objective. First, of course, needs to be that you need to build an enduring company, and enduring company will come from enduring founders, right? I know it can sound like a morning Gyan session, right? But that's the harsh truth. That's, I mean, so for startups I support or I kind of invest in or mentor, this is one of the most important things I look onto teams. uh, and I don't know which all sectors do you guys are from, but I would want to kind of tell which all sectors as per me right now uh, are kind of booming, or few sectors which are kind of getting impacted. Maybe why I'm doing this right now is that if you guys are any of in these sectors, maybe we can take a one-on-one, questions during or after the session. So, uh, I mean, we all know. I mean, COVID-19 has kind of taken a major made a major hit on the industry, the investment industry, and in fact every industry. So I believe that there are few sectors which kind of are totally on the incline due to this. One is of course the edtech sector altogether. It's doing fantastic. EdTech industry is on the boom. So if any of you guys are from the EdTech industry, uh, it's an amazing time to be in that particular area. Digital health, which previously was not being supported well, or which was not seeing the actual growth previously, it's taken uh, you know a booster now. E-commerce is doing fantastic. uh, Remote work and collaboration tools, you've seen the growth of companies like Zoom. So that's fantastic, doing fantastic. Gaming industry is doing fantastic. Nutrition and hygiene is doing fantastic. uh, a SaaS, I mean, if you're a SaaS company and the SaaS is kind of making real impact in the workflow, that's growing. On the contrary, there are a few sectors which were growing and are seeing a very major downfall now. For example, international travels. If you talk about the Indian context, brands like Make My Trip, Yatra, and all of these have taken a hit. Hospitality industry and altogether has taken a hit. Uh, Anything which is on an offline model, anything which is into offline retail has taken a hit. Uh, Traditional F&B businesses have taken a hit. Co-working business. So one of my businesses is co-working. We have taken a major hit. So co-working has taken a hit. If you are into retail of entertainment or media, cineplexes, they have taken a hit. Uh, Ola's we're seeing amazing growth in the last few years, but then ride sharing industry has taken a hit. So I think we need to be very clear that if we are in any kind of these sectors, either we pivot, and if we are as part of the sectors which are growing, then we can probably enhance the way we work, enhance our products and services. Uh, that's one message which I want to give out to people who are there on the session. Uh, Also, something which is very important for us to right now uh, ponder on is that, is our product or is your service a must have? Is it a must to have product? Uske bina hoga hi nahi. So if you are into that kind of a sector or that kind of a product or service, guys, this is the best time then. Then you are doing it fantastically well, because it's going to be an era of must to have products, be it for the consumers or be it for the investors, both ways. uh, and so now let's come to the investment angle of it. So every investor we see now is looking onto a startup or an idea, evaluating in such a manner that will it become profitable at large. So please remember the point I was making on unit economics. So I've been talking to a lot of investors lately, and all of them have been talking about unit economics. I mean, however, this was not the case previously. We were looking at scale. You know, investors are okay to take a hit on higher burn rates, higher cost to manufacture or provide a service. But now that's not the case. I'm sorry to interrupt. Answer, can I kind of switch off my video, or is it a mandate to have me on the video?
But I think wherever you are comfortable, could be
Okay,
switch
perfect,
off, or
perfect,
if you want, you can turn it on.
perfect. All right, no problem.
And after that, okay, I think Nikesh is doing recording, sir, for the session. So I'll request everyone if we all can turn on the video and we can be part of this recording session itself.
All right, okay, okay. And the third, or rather the second most important thing, at your stage, my dear friends, is something called as customer love. Uh, I mean, I was talking to Rajan Anandan a few days back, and he was also mentioning the same, that within, I mean, for you, for every startup, be it your company, be it startups of your portfolio, ensure that you get you enhance consumer love for it. And it's pretty easy to say that, I mean, our customers love it. Whoever use it love our product or services. Your consumer love can only be shown in terms of your numbers. Uh, how many people start buying it, how many people stay with you, and for how long, right? And what's their feedback, most importantly. So at this stage, my dear friends, we have that at an idea stage, an early stage. Startups have that. How would I say? They're lucky that they can try and play with the consumer. They can figure out their feedbacks. They can incorporate changes, and they can go back to the consumer. So ensure that whatever you're building, you build it in such a way that the consumer is going to love it. They would not want to shift to any other product or service from yours. Now, why would a consumer love you? It can be just because of the product which you give, right? It can be because of packaging. It can be because of the service which you give. Uh, it can be because of the pricing. I mean, if you're into the quality of the product, and so on and so forth. So that's you have to figure out. Of course, with mentors which you have, you need to figure out that what is going to define your consumer love. Uh, and it is also very important to figure out that how much time the consumer spends on your product, because something which the COVID has started changing at a rapid level is that the user love, or the user trust, how do you call it? I still want to call it as user love. That's changing very quickly. Reason, it's totally getting dependent on the cost, quality, and availability. So we need to ensure that your customer waits for your product. If it's not there on the rack, if it's not available, eh, like just there. So you need to ensure that your consumers still love you. But having said that, you also need to ensure that your service, your product are readily available for the consumer there. Now again, going back to the fundraising bit. First thing, at this stage, you need to figure out that how much do you need to raise. Right? How much do you need to raise? Let me emphasize how much you need to raise, and how much. It's not about how much do you want to raise. All right. Uh, and and I think you need to figure out a couple of points in that the mentors can help you. Somebody can reach out to me also. uh, the way to think is that to hit the next milestone, how much do I need? uh, that's how I figured out in my early stage I mean, my startups when they were at early stages, how much I need to hire to make a team. Seed investors are kind of looking for example, investors like me, or angel investors, or we call ourselves as seed investors. We are looking for a couple of things predominantly. Firstly, for me and for a lot of people, is the team. I mean, when I say team, it is the founder plus the early team which you have. It is you will not you just cannot come to me and say that okay, we are member founder team, and I am fantastic. I am an Ivy League college guy. I am an IIT and IIM. That's a good to have. However, your initial team or your early team also makes a very important role, plays a very, very important role. Second is the market. So I need to know the early stage or seed investors need to know that what's the market. I mean, how big is the market? Is the market growing or is the market slowing down? Uh, what kind of competitors are there in the market? So the second most priority comes to us at a seed stage is that is there a good enough market? And thirdly, the product. All right. So team, market, and product. These are three things at seed stage level, which most of the investors look at. And when we talk about the product, I mean everything will fall into it. Of course, the consumer love, the quality of the product, the unit economics, so on and so forth. Having said that, I'll kind of get some tell you some hacks probably which a founding team member should have whilst talking to an investor. uh, Something which has been very important to me is that can you explain your can the founding team explain me the product or the service or the startup in 2 or 3 lines. That's been very important to me, uh, because at idea stage these days, uh, investors want to know quickly that what's the idea. I mean, it should just hit them right off. That's why they're very interested. They will be interested to listen to you way forward. uh, you need to be able to tell your mission, what's your purpose. you know there needs to be a story. I think me at Abha ma'am also have been very much emphasizing on this, that if you solve a problem, there has to be a story behind it. I mean, how did you start? Why did you start it? Why did you figure out that this is the industry you want to be part of? So story is very important. The bigger terms are mission and purpose, but a fantastic story reaches out to the consumer and the investors bang on. So have a story. uh, in fact, a large number of seed investments, gets closed on the basis of the team and the story. Uh, the seed investor. Okay, so you should understand the psyche of a seed investor. You are at an idea stage or at an early stage. You will just come and tell me numbers. That's good, but then that's not what will entice me. That's not something which will entice a seed level investor. What will entice him is the dream which you kind of share with him or her, right? Very, and and the call to them that please be part of that dream journey. That's what will entice. And how will you do that? That will only depend. That will only happen if you have a fantastic team, if you have fantastic founders, and you have an amazing mission or a purpose. And a most number of early stage investments actually gets closed on these basis, most of them. And you ask anybody randomly who are closed in early stage investment. Uh, and one more important thing which I'll tell you is that I don't think you should chase the trends. I have found a lot of founders who would come and say, sir, COVID time hai, ye time hai, wo time hai, ये trend चल रहा है, so I'm going to start this startup. That is not the way it happens. I mean, you are not uh, opening up a shop. I mean, just because सब्जी की मंडी नहीं लग रही है यहाँ पे, I'm not going to start. Just because of that, I'm going to start a shop which sells vegetables. That's not a startup. So don't run behind the trends altogether. If you are in a startup and if there is a trend change and you can make some changes into your product because of that, which will enhance your revenue, your consumers, and the consumer experience, that is fantastic. That should be done. But don't start because there has been a trend, because trend's going to change, my dear friend. Right. So, Anusha, I'll just take a moment. I'll just grab a glass of water. Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir. Guys, I'll request everybody to keep your questions ready. Uh, Vivin sir is one of the well-known person in blockchain industry in across India. and very good knowledge you have it. Try to utilize that and ask as much as questions you all can. So use the time and resources what we are giving.
All right. So yes, and another important thing, which you guys need to figure out is that why now? Why now? Why is your startup, your product best now? Why should somebody invest in now? Why should somebody buy your product or service now? And if I look from from an investor perspective, because my session is about regarding around that. For an investor, it is very clear that is this the right time to invest in it? So you need to tell them. So you might be an amazing startup. Your numbers might be great, uh, especially in times like these. You just need to ensure that you convey it to the investor that this is the right time, right? For example, Khata Book. Khata Book has been getting popular, right? And why did it get popular? It actually became popular because of Geo. Right? There's been a fantastic penetration of Geo, right? And that was the right time to invest in Khata Book, right? Uh, Misho, we all know, heard about Misho. It was the right time for them to scale and get investments uh, because of social distribution. Because of WhatsApp. So what? Because the initial entire business model was based on the penetration which WhatsApp had or similar applications had. So why now? You need to sit with your mentors, your the team which supports you, and figure out why now before going to an investor. And then I'll kind of reiterate on the first point I was mentioning, the product market fit. A product market fit कैसे figure out करेंगे, right? Product market fit figure out करेंगे कि customer retention हो पा रहा है. I mean, are we able to retain customers? Right? If you're able to retain customers, your product or service is market fit, right? Are the customers returning to you? Then if they are, then you are a market fit product. Then user ratings. So whilst you go to an investor, your user ratings are very important. If you are on a digital platform, if you are an app, your ratings on Play Store, App Store, uh, or any other digital media or forum is very very important. So take that seriously. So I'll share an example. Lately, so there was a startup which was doing good in numbers. They are a potential competition to Udan, and they came and met me. I like the team. They had a good team. There is a demand of in the market for a similar product or a product which complements the remaining market. But the problem there was their initial user ratings were pathetic. So a rating of 3.2, 3.3 on Play Store, on App Store, they were getting rated around the same. Lately, they had a lot of bad reviews, bad ratings. So and that made me and my fellow investors, for which in that round, to kind of slow down. And it's already been 2.5 months. Their investment round has not closed. So that's a recent example, uh, and they're a celebrated startup. I'm not going to take name right now. They've been all over the media some time back. So yes, so customer retention, how much of them are returning and churning your profile, your product, and user ratings, right? Uh, and I know, and you will not like this statement of mine, but then ideas are dime a dozen, right? All of us have ideas every day. I also get a new idea, but I cannot implement it. And you guys are at I know ideation stages. So don't come and keep boasting about your idea only to the investor. You said it once. If you build a product around it, fantastic. But then ideas will keep coming to you. We're not going to be I think it's not the right time to be investing on ideas. It's the right time to be investing in market fit products, right? So, and then something which you need to figure out is that how can you ensure that if for example, if you're a free product, you need to ensure that you better have fantastic customer retention and customer love. You look at TikTok. You look at I mean TikTok is banned now, so if you look at say what Chingari and all, right, they are free products, but they got good customer love. If you look at Reposo, uh, they got customer love, right? If you look at Facebook, Keto, I mean all of these are free products, but uh, they have fantastic customer love. So that's what the priority for somebody like me or at an early stage level is. Uh, and if you're a free product, of course there are other ways of creating revenues, and that can be figured out. That's okay. uh, I don't know how many of you guys have built products which are going to be free for customer, and your source of income is going to be something else. Uh, and if you are an enterprise product startup, then you should need to emphasize on that how clear ROI do you have. So enterprise products startups, you should give a clear ROI, and you should tell the investor that you are a must have. So previously enterprise startups, had this how to say, the luxury of not being a must have, and even if you were a good to have, you are a good to have product, you are a good to have startup, people used to invest because enterprises were investing in things like employee engagement, probably uh, making the process a little more fun and easier. But these times are not that. These times are where you can show a clear ROI, a clear ROI, and that your product is a must have. Is there any question till now? Because I'm just going on and I can go on and on. Uh, if there's any question, I can just kind of hold back, take a couple of questions, and then I can move ahead.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes.
Devrat, please turn on your camera.
In because I think in couple of days back I was discussing the same point that how important is looking for investment money and at which stage you should look for investment money, and then the discussion was that for scalability and all you need to look for investors money. But now when you are saying that you should try to avoid, or like, so then I am a bit confused then when to look and how much to look, and some clarity on that, or whether to look or not, or if it is completely bootstrappable, then should we continue with that, or there are, I think there must be disadvantages with that, that's why people are looking for money, and then what are the pros and cons?
All right. So do you need to raise money? That question can be answered by your business model, Devrat, right? So you need money or do you want money? That is very simple. That's the way you categorize. कि तुम्हें पैसा चाहिए है, उसके बिना नहीं चलेगा. Then of course you need to raise money. I mean, if without money you are not able to scale. अगर आज तुम्हारे पास 10 कस्टमर है, तुम उनको 25 नहीं बना सकते हो या 100 नहीं बना सकते हो, just because you don't have money, then you need to raise money. If there is a product which you have built and it needs improvement and you cannot improve it just on the basis of the revenues which you have today, then you need to raise money. Right? So you shouldn't be raising money just to enhance, just to make sure that your valuation goes up or you become a big company. That's what I was trying to say. Of course, यार तुम्हें अगर investment नहीं लोगे तो हम जैसे लोगों का धंधा कैसे चलेगा?
So I think that the way you started, actually I am also having that kind of mindset, but actually I was not getting the validation. The way you started, that the initial companies, right, which you discussed, were fully bootstrapped. So
Correct.
I am also kind of supportive of that mindset, but till now I was not getting any validation. You are the first person who told that, okay, this is also possible. So now I am a bit curious to know that, okay, then how though then I would like to maybe I will also at my personal level understand those companies, how they have scaled without getting funding. and maybe if you also have some ideas that why they have chosen to bootstrap in spite of, I think they must be having their scalability issues as well. I don't think with initial revenue you can scale that much faster compared to how you could scale with investment.
Correct. I mean, that definitely. So again, so what's the startup, Devrat? Let's talk specifically. I mean, maybe 1 minute, right?
So the startup is enabling providing credit to people who are outside of typical banking networks by enabling common people to invest their money into it. So kind of crowdsourcing and then providing the money to at a kind of appropriate interest, which is right now very high for them. So just kind of
Okay, all right.
win-win for all of them.
So in a business like yours, there's going to be a greater burn in customer acquisition. Correct. You need to spend a lot on probably marketing and outreach.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in that case, I think you will need money. So in your case, the answer is a clear yes. Yes, bhai, paisa to chahiye hoga, or else you will not be able to create any revenue.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, see, eventually it is again coming back. It's the founders to decide. I mean, if and the market to decide, and is it the right time to invest in it? Decides that. So when I say that, is it the right time to invest? It's also for the startup. It's not just for the investor. Right. So you also need to give an answer to yourself that is it the right time to be for an investor to invest in me? It's not just the investor side that is it a right time to invest in this startup. So these are three things which will help you decide should we take investment or not. Right. So these are some basics. I mean, there might be exceptions. Exceptions are always there, but I think in your case you definitely need to raise money.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for the clarity.
Right. So, okay, guys. So, I'm not following any particular flow of a session because I've not devised anything of that sort. I'm just going on a free flow. Hopefully, that's okay.
Yes, sir, perfectly fine.
Okay. So, a lot of people, somebody texted me right.
I have a question, right?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I have a AgTech, and it's a B2B marketplace. They're all it's a one-stop solution for all agri inputs, agriculture inputs, basically fertilizer, pesticide, seeds, and all. So I have a question, right? Should venture capitalist gives any other facility apart from the funding, right? It supports you, like I have a question to venture capitalists, how they are supporting us startups, right, apart from funding.
Oh, very good question, Nick. So I've been always recommending to startups that if you're at an early stage, don't just look for money. Look for people who will help you earn more money. All right. So whenever you're going to an investor, also evaluate. So you also have the responsibility and the liability to evaluate the investor also. So evaluate that how apart from money, what is the add-on which the investor can bring on. Can he help you better the product? Can he or she help you position the product better in the market? Can he help you better in the tech? Right? Can he help you in getting more purchase orders? Can he help you in funding those purchase orders, financing those purchase orders, and so on and so forth? Right? Can somebody help you in packaging? Can somebody help you in labeling, branding, so on and so forth? So you need to figure that out for sure. Having said that, coming to VCs, a lot of VCs don't do all of that. Right. See, VCs come at a stage when you're already making good money, you're scaling up, right? And they are more interested in kind of putting in the money so that you can grow faster. Right. So a lot of VCs don't kind of support you there. However, at early stages, when you take angels and seed investors on board, right? That's the time you can ensure that these things fall in place, right? It's pretty simple here. So when we were kids, it was easy to learn things and change things, right? So at early stage, similarly, a startup can change things and mold things pretty fast, right? And will excel in that in some time. So when you're at an early stage, get investors and mentors who can help you better your product, better your service in all ways possible. VCs उतना नहीं करते हैं.
They are like they are helping us grooming like anything like they can create the culture of corporates within us, or they are grooming the founders or co-founders. मतलब वो उसमें help करते हैं कि नहीं करते हैं, मतलब corporate build-up में completely.
नहीं to better your processes वो करते हैं, definitely करते हैं, right? That they do. I've also been part of one of the VC funds, so we do. But then to what extent? Please understand that, right? So a VC fund, आप अगर अनिल सर से भी पूछेंगे, a VC fund has people who does investments or evaluate investments, right? They don't have operational team which has operational expertise, all right? Because that's not what their shop is about, right?
सर एक टीम तो प्रोवाइड करते होंगे to monitoring our day-to-day operations.
Very seldom that happens. Does it happen? Yes. For example, Sequoia, a team, a brand like Sequoia, they have a team which handholds startups जिनको support कर रहे हैं, invest कर रहे हैं. In fact, अगर आप इनकी बात करें, अगर Indian उसमें बात करें, so Yournest is also, they also have a team which kind of handholds. 100x VC, they have a team which handholds. So the answer is somewhere in the mid. Not everybody does that to every startup, right? See, they are not there to grow. I mean, come and help you grow, right? They're there to give.
But they are investing, sir, in us, and
Yeah,
we have to.
see,
They
you
have
went there to ask for money.
What we are expecting from them is not just a fund. We just want to they create a culture of corporate. They create groom us. Okay, so that's a very infinite world of corporate. Okay, so we just want not apart from funding, they just groom us also for to better to reach in that world.
Because
Yeah.
एक बात बताता हूँ, if somebody invests in you, he will ensure that you grind in such a manner कि आप वो corporate बन जाओगे.
Okay, sir.
And he will expect his money like in certain way 5x or 10x going back. So he will make sure you're going to get like grilled and you're making some good revenue. And he will try and he will do it.
Correct.
Because in fact, he's going to connect you in the network. He's trying to help you out to raise a second round once he can get out the exit with good numbers.
That's correct. Right. So don't worry on that. They might not teach you directly.
Yes.
Their processes themselves will teach you to become a semi-corporate or a corporate structure. Don't worry. But if you're thinking about that, they will come and help you handle your team and your operations. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not like that.
All right. Yeah.
Corporates के लिए थोड़ा सा build up हो basically.
But corporate बनना ही क्यों है यार? If you're a startup, then be a startup.
That's
What do you think by
how it
corporate?
goes. Basically, our vision is to get to the top of the top of the agri import industries, right? So our vision is like this. Okay.
But I will very strongly recommend that if you're at this stage, take some mentor, a good mentor on board, or a couple of mentors on board who can help you streamline your processes. So what I understand is a corporate structure is a place where processes are streamlined, as simple
Yes.
as that. So
Definitely.
get somebody on the mentor board, on the advisory board, who has been there in the corporate, right? Made processes for big companies, right? And
Yeah.
that's going to be the best for you, right? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bharat. Sorry. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. I think also one more thing which I'm going to reiterate here is that I was talking to somebody and he was telling me that the era of unicorns might be there, but it is also an era of camels. what do they mean by camels is that you need to survive drought times. So you need to be a startup which can survive drought times, and that can only happen if you have revenues, right? So high revenues make investors smile. So ensure that you have good revenue, good unit economics. High gross margins are can make the investor fall in love with you. Negative contribution terrifies them. All right. Not knowing your numbers whilst meeting them and meeting them early is not a good idea. And it is also the era of growth at any cost. There was an era where people will startups will come and say that we're going to grow at any cost. High burn model. That time is ended before March 2020. All right. So investors are not looking for startups which will grow at any cost. And when I say cost, I'm talking about the literal cost. So investors don't want startups which have very high burn and low gross margins. So make your startup and your model in such a manner that these points are taken care of. And then I just wanted to, I think we are left with some 5 odd minutes. So I'm going to tell you a few platforms which you can probably reach out to. Of course, along with AIC, BIMTech, you have a lot of options. But then there are online platforms and incubators, Let's Venture, AngelList, Y Combinator, Techstars, 500 Startups, 100X, GSF, so on and so forth. So, you should probably go online and search more about them, right? And then somebody had texted me. I just was checking my phone in the middle, and somebody has texted me, said, well, how do you do a perfect fundraise? I don't know if there is a perfect fundraise formula, but I have with time I have learned theory. That there are 5 P's for a perfect fundraise or a good fundraise. First is prepare material. Get your ammunition in place. Prepare material. Practice the pitch. So before you reach out to an investor, practice your pitch. Right? You might know the investor. It's okay, but then still practice the pitch multiple times, and not just you alone, also your co-founder. And if you're taking some team member along with you, he should also. Why is pipeline management important? It is important because it helps you win more deals with the customers, right? So what do I mean by pipeline management is so if I invest in you today, right, there's going to be, and we're going to market a lot, there's going to be a lot of sales pipeline which gets created for you. So I need to be clear as an investor that how are you going to manage that? So do you have the sources for that? Do you have the tech which manages that? And when I say tech, that can be as simple as a CRM. Right. So I remember investing in a tea company some time back, and
pipeline man.
But in my research, whatever I found is that companies measured pipeline health across 3 key dimensions: size, shape, and content. So deals were won through focused coaching on individual opportunities. That if you learn from them, say if there is a lot of inflow coming in from one region, you will need to figure out a way that how are you going to deal with that specific region. Every probably requests coming in from every region, you will not be able to handle it at the same way. If you are able to, it's fantastic, but a lot of times you cannot. For example, in my case, why is pipeline management important for me is because of my experience in one of my startups, or else I wouldn't be even telling. So pipeline management also includes forecasting. So you as a startup also should be able to to be in a position where you can forecast that this is going to be my inflow, this is going to be my potential customers. And when I say potential, it's not about how many impressions and all you have on your advertisements. It is about how many people are actually placing orders on your platform. All right. And how do you do forecasting? It depends on a lot of factors. season, if there is a festival, if has there been a pandemic, uh, right? I don't know, weather, region, and so on and so forth. There are so many things which impact forecasting. So that's what I mean when I say pipeline management. You need to. It's pretty simple as that. Of course, maybe we can have a session from an expert on pipeline management sometime later, but that's the overall idea of pipeline management.
Okay, I understand this on a B2B context, but can you explain it in terms of B2C? Let's say in India-based any B2C, like ours is we curate competition scholarships for kids and help them elevate as achievers.
So you
Like
curate.
it's a totally India-based thing.
So
in terms of us as a B2C startup, how do you see the same pipeline management?
See, I think in case of B2B and B2C, both ways, pipeline management revolves around the same basics, right? So whether you're B2B or a B2C, your sales pipeline requires customization on the stages to, match your company sales process, analysis of your sales pipeline metrics, and use of right tools to track and manage your customer and sales team. So I personally believe that be it B2C, be it B2B, it's the same way done. Maybe we can have an offline discussion in your specific context, right? And then
Sure.
we can
Yeah.
take it in detail.
Yeah.
I understand a little more about your startup to give you a clear. I don't want to talk anything just out of the air.
All right. Maybe I can connect via LinkedIn and
Sure,
maybe.
yeah.
Hello.
Sandeep will connect you.
Hello.
Yeah, perfect.
Hello. Good morning, sir. I have one question to ask you. Sir, suppose if some mentors or advisors you need on your board on this level, and if they are asking for some equity, so how much equity we need to offer them just for the advisory and mentorship?
Okay, that's a tough question. All right. See, I've been telling startups that their most valuable asset is their equity. So whatever you shell out, be a miser. अगर कंजूसी तुम्हें इक्विटी में करनी पड़े तो करो. Be a miser in handing out. But to answer your question in numbers, I think for a mentor or an advisor, anything between a 1 to 3% of equity is what I feel is right. At an very early stages, at very early stages. All right. So if you are scaled up, if you are post revenue, you have started evaluating yourself and all, I think that number can go down. At an early stage, I recommend anything between 1% to 3%.
It's depending on their time contribution as well, is it, sir?
Exactly. Totally depending on their time contribution, the value which he is able to add, and the way so it's eventually on the founders to decide, right? But to give you a number, it is anything between 1 to 3%. Right.
So, sir, we should need to ask them about the time consideration, like how much time they will be in touch with us, or like how much they will contribute to our startup, or anything like that. Should be need to
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, be shameless on that.
Okay.
Be shamelessly asking about it. If somebody wants a pie of your cake, they need to work for it. Be it your team member, be it your mentor, advisor, whoever he is.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.